Welcome into this exciting session. I will introduce a small project, a mini project called Frisbee, and I will be using this project through this course to show you how earned value management can be applied to projects. Of course, I have to give you a definition what Project Frisbee is about. We have to create the precedence diagram of the project. And then we have to calculate the early start, late start, and planned start Gantt charts of all the activities. And we have to look at an evaluation of the project. How is it doing related to progress and cost? Here we have the data of the project Frisbee. On the right top, we have the precedence diagram, including the duration and the cost of the activities, the cost per period. And we can calculate the total cost of the activities and the budget at completion, the total cost of the project. The bottom table shows us the planned start and the planned finish of every activity. We obtain this after resources leveling, and this is in fact the schedule baseline of the project. With this information, you can determine, first of all, the precedence diagram. Based on the precedence diagram, we will have the early start, early finish, late start, late finish of all the activities. And you can create the early start Gantt chart, the late start Gantt chart, and with the planned information, the planned start and the planned finish, you can create the planned start Gantt chart and budget. So now you can take some time, create a precedence diagram, and you can stop the presentation at this moment and start it again once you finish this exercise. Welcome back. Here is the solution. I hope you found the same results when you did the calculation yourself. You see that the critical path is given by the activities B, D, and F, and we know for every activity the early start, the early finish, late start and late finish, and the slack. With this information, you can create the different Gantt charts. Again, you can stop the presentation here and do the exercise at your own pace and come back to the presentation to review your result. You're already back. That's great. You're doing a great job. I think you're getting better at these calculations. Here you find the Gantt chart with the activities in the early start. You can compare those with your results, and if these are correct, we can continue to the next slide. If you have an error, try to correct the error and then continue the presentation. I hope everything was okay because you should know this already. We have done this before in other courses. If not, take some time to review it. We did the same for the activities in the late start, and you find the second budget curve. Like I said already before, we have to look at period 10 because the budget at completion did not change. The cost at period 1, however, changed because we moved activity A to its late start and finish time. This will give you the late start budget curve. And now we put the activities in their planned start, which will give you a third Gantt chart. This is in fact the schedule baseline. When we add the cost of the activities, we find the cost baseline of the project. Again, at period 10, the budget at completion is 95, as it should be because we didn't change anything during those different calculations. We can present all of these data in one very interesting graph, and this is the graph. Here we have the blue curve, which shows us the early start position of all the activities. The orange curve shows the late start position of all the activities, and the gray curve is in fact the planned start position of our project. This is in fact the combination of the cost with the schedule, and it gives us the cost baseline of the project. This will be our reference for project execution. We see that the curve is somewhere in between the blue and the orange curve. We call this the critical path position of the project, and we see that we have, let's say, enough flexibility to continue with the project. Remember that the gray curve being closer to the blue curve, it means that we have more flexibility, and the more the gray curve goes to the orange curve, the less flexibility we have. In the previous slide, we completed the budget curves for early start, late start, and the planned start. Finally, we got the baseline, the cost baseline for the project, or also called the S-curve. Now we have to look at how are we doing? What did we do during the first 7 periods of the project? And in this table, we see the actual start and actual finish times of the different activities. And we also see the value that was earned during the execution of those activities. To simplify our exercise, I just took the cost, the estimated cost of the activity, and I divided it by the duration of the activity. So we find the earned value for activity A being 2.5 per period, going from 2 till 5. We did the same for B, for C, and for D. We just started in period 7, and in period 7 we only earned 3K for the deliverables that we completed. E was finished on period 5 as planned, and we can deduct from this by making the sum of the columns the time phased earned value of our project up to period 7. Below that we see the baseline or the S-curve, and the last row gives us the cumulative earned value for the project starting from period 1 till period 7. We can do the same for the actual cost. Like I said, when we are working on an activity, it costs us 5K. So for the actual start to the actual finish time of the different activities, I register 5K per period. And that gives us the result you see in front of you. And below we see the time phased actual cost, the earned value which I took from the previous slide, and the actual cost. And here we can already have a look at the cost. We see in period 1 we earned a value of 4.2 and our cost was 5.0. So this information can be used to show the evolution of the project in a graph, which I will show you on the next slide. Here we see the information of the project. The blue curve is the S-curve. We look at the measurement period today, period 7. We see that we had a planned value or have a planned value of 70K. The earned value in period 7 is a little bit lower than 60K, if I remember well, 58K. The actual cost is around 75, and we see that the earned value curve is below the blue curve, which means that our project is behind schedule. And on the other hand, we see the gray curve, which gives us the actual cost, which is higher than the earned value, which means that we are overspending. Our project Frisbee is not doing well. We are behind schedule and over budget. So we have to look into this in the next sections, and we will discover more parameters to measure and how we can evaluate the project correctly. It's getting a little bit more complicated with all the calculations and some more formulas, but I'm sure you will do right, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you and keep up the good work.